there's
Do
so
they
many
move?
projects. All right, I've got 4:30. All right, call workshop to order. We have one item on the agenda tonight, this presentation of the proposed fiscal year 24 budget. And is my voice catching on this mic? No? Okay.
Doesn't sound.
Find a place to get it closer. Better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'll probably knock it over, but we'll go from there. All right. So you have printouts in front of you of the proposed budget. It's been posted up on the website as well. We'll go ahead and start. As you know, the city has 5 basic funds: the general fund, technology fund, sewer enterprise fund, airport enterprise fund, and drug fund. The general fund revenue summary is on page 3. 6.367 in property tax, 1.46 in other tax, 4.75 in sales tax, 124,000 in grant, and 867,600 in miscellaneous income, giving us a total of 13,568,600. The proposed property tax rate would be at $1.55, which is up from $1.3897, which is the current rate. Every penny of property tax yields $40,007 in income to the city. The impact of the proposed 12% property tax increase would be approximately $40 on $100,000 of assessed value. So that would be at $160 on a $400,000 home. I'll pause in case I'm getting to go a little quick. All right, moving to the general fund. So we are showing a 15% increase in property tax. That is based on the 12% property tax increase and 3% in additional growth. That is based on our tools for the last year and kind of the lull between the finishing of Barnsley and Wellesley and the start of the Empire project. Those homes won't come online for approximately 2 more years property tax wise, assuming they get started this fall. We are flat on utility tax based on actuals, pretty close. Local sales tax based on actuals is trending to 3.5, which is up 21%. Mixed drink tax is projecting at 15%. Again, that's based on our actuals. Business tax, 232,000 based on actuals. We're leaving telephone franchise tax flat, decreasing the cable franchise tax to 70,000. Hotel motel is trending way up, 58% up at 150,000. We're projecting 105,000 in building permits. That's based on some of the other projects coming online that are currently in the queue. $3,000 in economic development fee. This is the big one here. The grant revenue going from 1.688003 to 0. That was the COVID money that came from the federal government the last 2 years. So that going away is the big hit for us. Federal law enforcement grant is going up to 124,000. State sales tax is trending towards 1.25 thousand. That's up approximately 20%. State beer tax is trending to 180,000. That's down approximately 6%.
What counts for the beer going down?
I know. Freaking like beer.
They're either drinking less or we slightly overprojected. So, but
I
that-
think you slightly overprojected.
Yes.
I just can imagine you're not dripping anymore.
That's what we're projecting at. So we're trying to forecast a little more accurately. And I agree with you, probably over projected here.
Can I run you back up to the cable franchise?
Yes, ma'am.
Why is that down?
It continues to go
Because of
down year over year.
EPB?
It continues to go down year over year.
Okay.
I can ask a question while she's asking a question.
I can
So-
only hear one at a time.
I know, but she's over. I think she's over. Are you finished at the moment?
Well, yeah, I have a whole list.
Okay. When you said COVID is a big hit to us, are you meaning just because that money's gone? I mean, we should have never counted on that as
Correct.
year over year. So you're just saying it's,
Correct. It's not coming in anymore.
okay.
We-
So we didn't hire people because of that.
We did not. We did not spend it on recurring items.
Okay.
But that is still 1.7 in income that we've had the last 2 years.
And we use that for COVID, right? We use all that money for COVID stuff?
We use it for all eligible expenses. So the federal government initially came out and they wanted all these very complicated project plans, exactly where you're going to spend it, et cetera. They then decided the first $10 million could be written down as lost revenue, essentially because they didn't want to audit everybody that had under $10 million. It wasn't worth their time. And so we put it in the general fund and it paid a portion of odds and ends and that sort of thing. Any more questions on page 4? Right. State gas tax is trending to 380,000. That's a 23% increase. Slight bump in the inspection fee, 12%. Sports betting is up to 6,500. That's based on an actual. DVA gross receipts tax is trending up 27% to 133,000. Police supplement pay is remaining flat at 20,800. The coalition is up 5%, 113,700. That's the reimbursement we receive from the other cities. Refuse collection contract is flat at 15,000. The library is up to 50,000. That's based on our current actuals. City court fines and cost is trending right on 250, so it stayed flat. Interest earnings is up to 60,000. Sale of surplus property is down significantly this year to 30,000 from 115. Essentially, we've spent the last 2 years selling everything we can, and we've sold most of everything that was being kept for one reason or another, and now we're just selling the replacement items. For instance, car in, car out, et cetera. We are flat on insurance reimbursement at 45. We always put donations at about 600. Don't know if that's coming or not, so it's remaining flat. Appropriation from sewer fund stays at 15,000. Miscellaneous revenues trending down at 60 rather than 65 for our total of 13,568,600.
What goes into the miscellaneous revenues line?
So that'll be odds and ends, room rentals, things of that nature. It's mostly room rentals.
Wow, 60,000? Dumpster and room rentals, okay.
Fingerprinting.
Extra trash can.
Yeah, those odds and ends do add up. So, any other questions on sheet 5?
On the coalition line, is that going up because of the raise?
Correct. How many years did we not catch this? For a couple of years, the annual raises weren't caught, and we caught it last year and got it brought back up to the even distribution.
I'm sorry, can you explain that again?
So initially, it was some amount, it was approximately 23,000 for the big cities was the share. And then year over year, the COLAs weren't caught, and that number wasn't bumped from 23 to 24. And we caught that in last year's budget. And the other cities are paying their percentage on the current salary.
So they're already on the same page with this?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So moving to expenditure summary. Planning is 294,700. Municipal court is 222,900. Admin is 869,100. Municipal building and codes is 717,200. General government is 5,299,400. Police department is 3.0916. Public works is 2,767,900. Parks and rec, 167,500, for a total of 13,430,300. That currently nets a projection of 138,300 in surplus. Any other questions? Fees of officials remaining flat at 2,100. All right, municipal court. Salaries are projected up 13% from 130,000 to 148,000. We are asking for a 5.1% COLA plus 1.1% for expansion of the retention incentive. However, there were a few positions, such as the court clerks, that had a lot of market pressure this year. So that's why you see the salaries for court up to 13%, was the two assistant court clerk positions, market pressure pushed them more than the 5.1%. Overtime remained flat. OASI rides salaries, which is why it's rounding is the difference between 13 and 14. Legal services, the judge is up 5%. That's based on the contract, that 5% annual increase. Other operating supplies is rounded down to 1,000. Capital outlay is 6,500 this year. This is for a new metal detector. Our current metal detector is broken. It's limping. Broken one week, limping the next. So we need to replace it.
Can we look for a grant to see if that's a possibility for the metal detector? I know at one point there were different grants for like fortifying the bench. Is there anything for a metal detector?
We'll look again. We did a quick search. We didn't find one, but we can
Okay.
absolutely look again.
Hey, on the salaries.
Yes.
So 2 people are in this salary category,
3.
3? So you're telling me,
There's also
3.
benefits on top of that.
So the 17,000 increase, is that just salary increase, or is it?
Salary, retention incentive, and benefits on top of it.
So if I was to ask you without any names, although it's open record, what would somebody increase be in this position?
I have to look to get you the exact numbers. You don't recall. I'd have to get you the exact numbers.
Because I think it'd be good for us to look at all employees, current salary, proposed salary by person. We used to get that.
Okay, I can send it to
I
you.
think that'd be good to look at.
Could we also get that without the benefits included, just the raw salary?
The spreadsheet we use has it as the raw salary, the OASI, the benefits, et cetera, to
Okay.
a grand total number.
And the only reason I say that because one year we gave somebody over like a 13,000 raise. It seemed like it. I about choked. And I'm a staged approach type person. Yeah, they probably deserved it, but we are talking about citizens' money and stuff. So,
These are not that significant.
okay.
Right.
Yeah.
They're
Thank you.
they're not that significant, but we'll send that out.
Okay.
But this is for all 3 clerks, not just one?
Correct. That's all 3 positions with benefits. All right. So they gave us a total for municipal court at 222,900. No election expense this year. Moving to administration. So salaries up to 792,100. The largest portion of that is we're requesting a safety supervisor, and half of their salary would come out of the general fund, which is pushing that. The other half would come out of the sewer fund. This is something we've been thinking about for several years, and it was actually Commissioner Sadler's comments on some of the the liabilities and the previous injury from 5 or 6 years ago, et cetera, that kind of pushed us over is really needing this position to up our safety. They'll start by writing SOPs and then over time move into enforcing those, starting in public works and sewer and expanding out.
And what all will this, what all areas will this include?
So they will start by writing standard operating procedures for safety. That'll be things like job site briefs, stop, think, act review prior to doing something, the requirement to utilize gloves and goggles, inspecting equipment prior to using it, such as grinder wheels being in good operating order, not cracked prior to using it, UL tags on electrical equipment, et cetera. It will also include inspecting the playgrounds on, is it monthly? A monthly check. Still need to be certified to do that, and putting in work orders and that sort of thing.
So mainly for public works and,
It will start in public works and sewer. The SOPs will expand out of there to some of the other departments. But the big push for the first year will be SOPs and enacting a safety program that's bought into starting in public works and sewer.
Would this be overlap with HR doing risk management?
The overlap, the goal is to reduce risk and injury, but it will not be an overlap with HR's responsibilities. This will be a standalone program to, again, get us in a more active and current safety culture that would be more indicative of what you would find on larger job sites, industrial type environments, that sort of thing.
Will it decrease our overall insurance?
It's small. The answer is yes, but not significantly.
For that salary line for admin, can you tell us which all positions that includes, including this new one, of course?
That would be the easiest if you'll print it out. So that includes city manager, assistant city manager, finance, Christie. That'll include this new position, HR. I believe Parks and Rec is still standalone, even though they report to the city manager. So it would be those.
Okay, so which ones of those are eligible for that next overtime line item?
That would be the hourly employees. So it would be the safety position, but I don't expect them to really have any. It would be folks like Ashland and Christie who do their normal 40 and then are here for commission meetings and that sort of thing. So Michelle and I do not get overtime. I mean, we don't have any, Kristen doesn't have any, et cetera.
Was there anything planned while we are counting on it more than doubling overtime expense?
Beg your pardon?
Is there anything for this upcoming year where we're expecting overtime to double?
We were trying to forecast more accurately. We were under at the 990.
Okay.
Again, OASI, ride salaries. Fuel is down to 1,500. That's based on actuals. Equipment lease is down a point, just based on actuals, giving us a total of 869,100.
What's leased under that line item? Printers?
Printers, that
Okay.
sort of thing. Printers, the maintenance of them, et cetera.
copier.
All right. Planning department expenditures. So we are going from 2 positions to 1 in the next budget. So that is why you see the decrease there. Overtime, we're bumping up just a hair to 200. OASI, again, rides and salaries. The business lobbying initiative, we're driving down. This will be, a lot of this is going to focus on some of our branding initiatives, our social media signage, that sort of thing for the 10,000. The Collegedale Tomorrow Foundation remains flat at 118,000. The code revision is dropping down. That's the project that is out to bid starting in this fiscal year and rolling into next. And that gives us a total of 294,700, down about 33%.
How do we land at that 118,000 every year for Collegedale Tomorrow? Is that already like is that a contract or how do we come up with that figure?
It started at 100,000 years ago and then went to 118 when, so as the expenses continued to rise and the Little Debbie Park was added to the maintenance scope.
So it's not something that, this is just something we've been doing every year. It's not an obligation, I guess is what I'm saying.
Correct.
Okay.
It's something we've been doing. I don't want to be, I wasn't involved in the original conversations when the foundation was formed. Thank you.
Years ago.
Yeah, so to fully answer your question, for admin, that is Ashlyn, Kristen, Bridget, me, Michelle, Tom, Christy, Ryan at the airport, half of the staff engineer, and then the half the safety position are what make up that total.
Okay, thank you.
So it's 10 folks, but 9 positions. Thank you. All right. Moving to building and codes. Salaries are, that's the standard COLA plus the expansion. So up to 314.5, it's the 6%. Overtime down to 200. OASI, again, is writing salaries. Janitorial supplies is up to 11.6. That's the additional bathrooms at the Little Debbie Park and more accurate reflection of what we're spending. Utilities are down. This is in part due to some of the energy saving initiatives, such as the AC and the lighting has it down in those numbers. Telephone, cell phones is up 2%. Inspection, code enforcement is down to 20,000, just a bump. Vehicle fuel at 3,000, so hair down. Parts and repairs down to 2,500. Building repair and maintenance is up to 30,000. That's based on a more accurate reflection of aging buildings are taking more to maintain. And then capital outlay is down to 70,600. The projects are listed in the 900 at the bottom of the slide. It's library, parking, LEDs, pull down stairs for library HVAC access, city hall parking lot LEDs, city hall and library parking lot light pole painting, city hall countertop replacement, public works LED lights, and city hall LED lights. Those are more of those ongoing energy saving projects that we've been doing for several years.
Hey, real quick on the janitorial supplies, you mentioned is in addition because of Little Debbie Park. Do you think that's going to be enough? That increase?
It is our best forecast with the data we have now.
Okay.
I don't want to sandbag it. If it's under, I'll hopefully, well, I hope it's not under, but if it is under, I'll own it next year. That
I just didn't want it ended up being like, 3,000 over what we budget because we just don't.
we just don't know. Based on what we're seeing at some of the others, it's as sharp a pencil as we can get. But again, I just don't want to sandbag it on that.
Okay.
On the city cell phones, do you know ballpark how many employees that we provide cell phones for?
So it's not, yes, it's approximately 65-ish employees have cell phones, but there's also additional CID phones that are used for witnesses and that sort of thing. We end up with, I think, 100 or 105 total lines.
I'm sorry, just the cell phones. Like, or
Right.
does every employee have a city cell phone?
Not every employee does. It's approximately 60 to 65 employees have cell phones. But on the bill, it also includes the hotspots and the CID lines and that sort of thing.
Have we looked into maybe doing a stipend instead so we don't have to maintain the hardware or worry about if they drop their phone? It would just be their phone, so they take care of it.
Go
Can I
ahead.
speak to that? So how it works with our city issue cell phones is predominantly we are allowed as government free phones, if you will. And me being assigned as a cell phone administrator, I try and make a habit of employees, if they need a phone, to give them the opportunity to choose between a Galaxy and an iPhone based on the free phones that we have available. I don't upgrade everybody's across the board for that purpose. So that way, if somebody does break their phone, then a lot of times I can contact our rep and we can get another free phone where there's no cost for us out of pocket to maximize our expenses, if you will.
Okay, so it wouldn't be cheaper just to do like, here's $40 this month towards your bill?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
Any more questions on sheet 12?
On the parking lot pole painting, are our light poles really in that bad shape that we have to do that this year?
We've kicked it now 3 years in a row.
I can't say that I've ever looked at one. Maybe I should.
We've continued to kick it 3 years in a row, and being very frank, if some of these other projects come in over budget, it'll get kicked again, as it doesn't have an ROI associated with it. It's not, they're not going to fall over if we don't paint them this year, but we have to maintain at some point. We don't have that many more years to kick it.
And which countertops in City Hall is that talking about?
That'll be the one at the desk in front of Christie, and probably both of the public restrooms, and then the one at the court clerk window.
That one's brand new.
We're going to have them match, and when we painted, we didn't do the wood because we have to take the glass down. So we'll take the glass out, paint the frames, and then put it in.
Wasn't that just painted?
We didn't take the glass out.
Okay.
I can show you, if you look on from inside Christie's office, we left all the glass in, with the idea being that the glass needed to be taken out to replace the countertop. At that point in time, we'll paint the inside of the frame and then put the glass back in. That way we didn't pay labor twice.
And we're trying to, like Wayne and I had discussed, we're trying to break this up into stages because obviously to do like the whole court countertop, the kitchen countertop in the east and western, or between east and western, all that holistically is I'm sure a pretty sizable number, and that way making it in more manageable components, if you will.
I mean, that was just painted too. I'm trying to think about why we spent money this year to paint these things if we're just going to replace them. That's
We
where I'm
didn't
coming
paint
from.
the tops.
Well, just the edge, the banding
Okay.
only. Yeah, and the purpose of that was just to kind of get it to blend aesthetically because it was already included in the cost. It wasn't that much more of an expenditure, if you will, just to kind of buy some time, if you will. So that way, since we painted everything else to make it look nice holistically, rather than having that band around kind of stand out like a sore thumb, if you will.
Okay.
All right, other general government, benefit consulting fee rounded down to 1,600. HRA at 325,000, that's flat. Long-term disability is down 14% to 14.6. Medical insurance, we're showing a 5% increase next year at $1,072,400. Retirement is up to 481,800. Life insurance is down to 2,000. We are flat on unemployment taxes. We are down to 65,000 on training and education. That's based on what we're hitting this year. The library funding is going up 7% to 550,800. That's a direct pass-through on salaries. And then local option sales tax commission is up to 35,000 based on actuals.
Is that what we paid them to collect it for?
Yes, ma'am. 1%. So there is the 1% that we're required to pay them does not reflect their cost to collect. So, but as sales taxes go up, our bill goes up. So, any other questions?
I could collect it for you for that.
I agree. Statewide, there's approximately $40 million overage between the cost to actually run that department and give us our money back to what they charge us. It should cost them $15 to $20 million, and they're collecting almost 60.
But they won't share it with us.
I agree. All right, other general government expenditures. Consulting is staying flat at 57,000. City attorney is down 7,000. This is based on our actuals and not having any lawsuits this last year. Postage is staying flat at 6,000. Advertising and newsletter staying flat at 5,000. Dues and memberships staying flat at 24,000. Recreation and holiday programs down to 70,000. Legal services retainer is up to 12,000. Accounting and auditing is staying flat at 42,100. Humane Society is rounding up to 51. And then property tax commission is 113,900. That is a 3% bump. Right?
Is this the same office that gets the other one?
That's,
Oh, yeah.
The
It's Hamilton
35,000
County.
and then here's another 113, 14.
That's 2% of that, and that's Hamilton County.
that's what the county charges us.
Then they better give us the library.
They have agreed to sunset the library deed restriction. There's some question on the legal process to do so, but we do hold title to the building. It just has a deed restriction to remain as a library. And so we're trying to find out legally how we get that restriction dropped. But our county commissioner has indicated a desire to go ahead and make that go away.
It's good news.
Hotel motel tax is trending up at 1,500. Computer support is going from 190 to 360. This was what we discussed by going from Lightfoot to VC3. VC3 was on site starting today to start mapping everything out. Keep in mind, approximately 80,000 of this is projects to roll us to a cloud-based system, Microsoft 360, et cetera. And then it would be maintenance and support on the backside of that.
Once it's set up, will that go down?
Yes, ma'am. So, and that does include, I'm going to say it's 40 computers in the first year. Yes, in the first year as we get upgraded, and then we will level out our resource management to try to make it more predictable.
If they have to send someone from out of state, does it make what we have to pay, does it increase, or is that part of our contract?
It's part of our contract. We go through the normal chains, which is there's 4 different ways to contact them: email, phone call, chat support, et cetera. And they have different levels of emergency. But if they have to come on site, one of their engineers lives 45 minutes from here. And so he would be our on-site rep to handle things on site if we need them.
Okay, you said that's 40 computers. Are those ours to keep, or are they like their property that we're borrowing?
They're ours, but they have a lifespan.
Okay.
So it's similar to how we've done, like with the police department. Every so often, we rotate it through. All right.
Oh, one more question on this page. On the bank credit card fees, is it every 4 years we have to seek competitor offers on if they can do a better deal for us? Have we done that recently?
I wouldn't say, we've done it with probably 4 years ago, 3 years ago, something like
Okay.
that. Not in the last few years, though.
Okay, since that law passed in 2019?
We've done it since then, yes.
Okay,
Yes. Also, right now, they're not charging us any fees. It's been
Okay.
like the past 3 or 4 months. So I don't know, I didn't count on that continuing, but they're not charging us any fees. I didn't call to ask. But it's been like 3 or 4 months with no fees.
kind of hoping it might be a happy accident, so.
Yeah.
Yep, yeah, I got it.
Don't remind me.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Coffee machine supplies, 2,300. It's flat. Office supplies are flat. Safety's bumping up to 11,000. That's PPE costs. Boots and vests or gloves are more expensive. And then insurance is going from 300 to 350. And that gives us a total of 3.7471.
Was there any reason for that big jump in insurance?
It's kind of hit or miss, and that's as we get more and more assets, it continues to go up. Things like the Little Debbie Park and additional parks, et cetera. Right, police department. Salaries are up 4% to 1.708,100. Overtime is bumping up to 73,000. OASI, again, riding salaries is up 4% to 130,200. Training and education is down to 85,700. Dues and memberships is down to 4,200. Repair, maintenance, and equipment is down a hair at 21,600. Records management fees are down to 31,600. Dispatch contract is up to 194,400. This is a pass-through from the county. We don't really get a say-so in it. Frankly, we can't replicate the services for what we're paying them, so we accept it and say thank you. Their reasoning for the increase was overtime due to staffing problems through COVID and continuing forward as to why it went up. Sword operations is down to 16,100. That is training in the annual training conference. Equipment and supplies is down to 150,400. The K-9 unit is up to 6,000, and then clothing and uniforms is down to 40,800. Any questions on that one before I go to the next one?
How many officers under the SOAR operations is that for training and a conference?
I don't have that answer.
Okay, we'll look and give you the answer.
Is that strictly just to keep certifications, or are we operating a SOAR team?
It's so that we have tactically trained officers. We are not, for instance, we're pulling all references to gas and that sort of thing out of the SOAR manual, et cetera. We own the MRAP, but we can't sell it. We can only give it back, so we're keeping it, but we're not buying sniper rifles or gas canister launchers or gas for training purposes or anything like that anymore.
Okay. Can we find out how many officers that's for training for?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have to pull it. I'll have to email it to you with some of
Okay,
the other
that's fine.
questions. All right. Other operating supplies is up to 19.7 based on actuals. Fuel is remaining flat at 73.5. Vehicle parts and repair is down 12% to 54.1. Fuel for the motorcycles is up to 3,000. NCIC computer rental is down a point at 52.7. Public relations is down to 8,500. Capital outlay is up to 418,000. 93,000 of that comes from a grant. And then this year we're asking to equip 6 Durangos and equipment for 325,000 as part of that 418. You'll remember last year we only got 4 to stay within budget because they went up in price. And we need basically 5 a year to get to our 1 in, 1 off the line rotation.
Is this another truck, or was that left in from last year?
It'll just be 6 Dodge Durangos.
Just 6 Dodge.
Yeah.
And how many motorcycles do we have?
2.
2 motorcycles.
We have 3 officers qualified and 1 expressing interest to get qualified as well.
What's the difference between the 2 line items? One says equipment and supplies, and the other one is other operating supplies.
Supplies.
319 and 329.
Let me flip through here. Bear with me 1 second.
You're fine.
I believe I have the answer.
Go ahead.
329 is for things like our clear contract, the American Police Hall of Fame, toll bills, site tests for new hires, fireworks, or things like that. What was the other one?
319.
19.
That is ammunition, business cards, printing, medical gloves, citation books, field notebooks, IDs, printer paper for Brazos, cleaning supplies, police car cleaning supplies, maintenance fluids for vehicles, crime scene tape, disaster response truck supplies, evidence room supplies, targets, mower at the range, et cetera. The tasers, car cameras, body cameras, interview room recording system, PIO equipment and supply, and then the GHSO grant equipment and the Axon Rapid SOS, those sorts of things.
Okay. And then I wanted to ask about the fuel staying flat, because I saw that later on Public Works was forecasting like a 25% increase.
So this year, we're forecasting basically flat. As you know, it's a hedge on what gas prices do. But based on our actuals, we're looking right on point. Now with Public Works, I'd have to look, are you talking about sewer? Because we created a line item for sewer, or are you talking about the general public works?
No, I was looking at 331 under Public Works expenditures. That one said 25% increase.
So, I believe it was 2 years ago, we cut fuel pretty tight.
Okay.
And that's basically the exact calculation of what we spent year to date, what the price was looking at and forecasting. That's why we were pretty short this year.
Okay.
Cut it short, trying to be as close as possible.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out how one department was going to have an increase and the other wasn't. Appreciate it.
Trying to not sandbag, sometimes we get a little too pointed with our pencils.
And also the diesel price has been a lot more volatile than the gas price.
Okay.
We're running 95% gas, and we're about 50/50 gas.
Okay.
And how much more is the diesel running?
I mean, I haven't seen our exact numbers. I know the tax wise, they're running about $1.50 separate. And it fluctuates. That diesel moves much quicker up and slower
Yeah.
down.
All right. Any other questions on this slide? Confined space, this is for fire protection. Confined space fees are up 3%. Fire protection is up 2% to $1,069,832. As you know, that's based off property tax income, and it's fixed essentially. And the ISO rating adjustment is 30,000. That's based off of the same contract.
The ISO rating, is that something that changed from the previous year, or is that something we just pay every year?
It's consistent.
Okay.
As we changed ISO ratings years ago under Bill Magoon, they decided to give 10,000 for each point and to continue that. So if it went
So that's
down-
like what we pay because it's a good rating?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it saves
Performance.
it saves everybody homeowners
Okay.
on your insurance.
I think the last time it went up was 3 or 4 years
It was
ago.
probably 4 years ago.
All righty, moving on to Public Works. All right, salaries are up to $900,300. We're requesting an additional mechanic. Since we've brought all the upfitting in-house, we need another mechanic to keep up. And as we've expanded, there we go. I knew it happened at least once, probably again though. And as we had more vehicles, et cetera, so this is requesting an additional mechanic. Overtime is up to $5,500. OASI, again, rides salaries. Street lighting is rounded to $4,100. Rental equipment is staying flat at $50,000. Clothing uniforms is up to $18,400. Landscaping supplies is up to $28,600. Other operating supplies is at $9,600. Vehicle fuel is up, like you pointed, to $50,800. Vehicle parts and repairs is up 4% to $61,600. ADA repairs has remained flat at $30,000. Other repair and maintenance supplies is essentially rounded up to $50,300. Sign parts and supplies is rounded down to $9,300, and safety supplies has rounded down to $9,600.
On the rental equipment line item, what have we rented this year and what do we plan on renting next year?
I have to look back and see, we rented, boom lifts, scissor lifts. Usually in the summertime, when we're doing paving, repair work, we rent, smooth drum rollers. If we're compacting dirt, we'll get with the larger sheet foot rollers. Sometimes if we're doing a big culvert project, we'll need a larger excavator and a trench box. We've looked into purchasing a trench box, but the cost of renting one versus purchasing one and the safety cost of getting it inspected every year is better to rent.
Okay. And I was going to ask you about the ADA repairs, what we have done this year and what we're looking to do.
I believe we've done several sidewalk repairs, and we're looking at including a couple ADA repairs with our paving budget bid we're putting out.
Okay.
And that's part of our compliance program that we're mandated to have. Any other questions? Ready? Going to sheet 20. Road repair material is up 6% to 70,000. Roads and streets resurfacing is staying flat at 650,000. Capital outlay is down 4% to 430,000. So the capital outlay for 430, that is the sidewalk extension along Edgemond Road, and it will also include tying the new restrooms in at the duck pond on that sidewalk. Utility service body truck for 80,000. Edgemond road-based failure repair for 150. That's at the old city limits by that culvert. It's collapsing. Excuse me. This is going to be a very frustrating project for the residents. There's not a way to do it without closing that section of road, because you're going to have to close one side of the road to stage equipment to repair the other side. And so we'll be putting that out to bid, and we've met with a couple of contractors trying to come up with the best way to do it. There's just not a good way to do it. So we'll make a big public push up front. Hey, this is going to happen. We'll put it in bid docs to get it done as quick as possible. But if we don't fix it before it fails, it'll fail, and it'll still have to require closing the road. So that one's going to be bad.
So go ahead.
How long is that gonna take?
Couple of weeks is our best
I would
estimate.
say, weather depending, I'd say 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. Target.
And this is something we can't open at night, or can we?
It really wouldn't be practical. It'd take twice as long to do it like that, and the safety factor of it, you'd be better off just to do it one time, reroute.
So I think I know we need to do it because it is getting bad out there. But I think we need to do a way, so social media, of course, both the city, Public Works, PD, whoever we can get out there. Number two, I think we need to do a mailing for anybody that lives in Homewood, Landrum area, Pennywood, Cloverland, Misty Valley, up, all the way up, and then maybe we can put some type of flashing sign that this will be closed for 2 weeks, beginning X. You need to reroute.
We can add those to the bid docs, to have those
Yeah.
at least 2 weeks in advance, et cetera, and reach out to the local news and coordinate to get it out there. I agree with you.
Now, on our resurfacing budget, what projects are we looking at right now?
So we're gonna be doing Swinger Drive out here, and then a large portion of Talent Road and Sherry Lane.
What was that last one?
Sherry Lane.
Okay.
What's it cost now to pave a mile? It was
We're gonna put
500.
it out to bid. I think last year's price, well, per mile. So,
It depends on if we're just doing asphalt or if we have sidewalk and curb work as well. Those drive it up pretty quick too. Just mill and pave is
It's 125 a ton. I'm just gonna figure out how many tons it takes to do one.
right, plus milling and moving.
Can you not just ask Siri?
And striping as well. I'd expect it to be between 5 and 6 just for mill, pave, and stripe.
It depends upon the gas or the price of petroleum.
It's pretty volatile as well.
Well, that's okay. I thought maybe you already had it in your mind.
So including milling, striping, and everything like that, I would say a mile is gonna run you right at, 220,000, 250,000.
Wow.
Wow.
All righty. Any other questions? All right. Parks and Rec salaries are up to 117,200. Overtime bumped to 200. OESI is riding salaries. Collegedale Rec programs remaining flat at 20,000. We're cutting the 1,100 line item for recreation and holiday planning and rolling it into equipment and supplies, which is up to 20,000. Also getting rid of other operating supplies, rolling it in as well. Fuel is doubling to 1,000. Vehicle parts and repairs, since we've sold the box truck and have ordered a new vehicle, is down to $100, which gives us a total of $167,500.
Maybe Christina has an idea, or could we see on the events that have the pre-registration, what are we seeing like with percentages for participants that live in the city versus don't?
We don't discriminate if they're residents or not.
I'm not asking you to discriminate. I'm just wondering what the percentage is for city residents that,
No, we don't calculate that.
so with pre-registering, you're just doing like name and contact information?
They do their address and everything like that, but we don't have anything that, unless we went by the thousands of people that have put in their information, because we also do rentals as well. We'd have to go through all of those and figure out if they live in the city or not.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we can't sort by Collegedale on an address.
Yeah.
True.
I can always ask, but I don't think it's.
We have so many zip codes.
Right. We have Collegedale is one word, Collegedale is two word. We have McDonald, we have Little Rock. Yes. All right. Waste collection and disposal expenditures, salaries are up to 89,600. Overtime is up to 1,000. OASI at 6,900. Landfill services is up to 112,100. Green waste recycling is up to 20,800. Garbage carts are up to 28,000. With the homes coming on and the age of our cans, we're going to have to keep buying more cans. Other operating supplies has been zeroed out. Vehicle fuel is up to 17,700. Vehicle parts and repairs is up to 30,200. Commercial waste pickup is up $30, so to 14,600. And then capital outlay, we've zeroed out this year. So that gave us a total of 320,900. All right. Debt service interest is down 11% to 59,900, while principal is up 2% to 383,000 for a total of 442,900. So again, revenues 13,568,600, expenditures 13,430,300 for a surplus of 138,300. Technology fund, revenues estimated 2,000, expenses at 1,000. Sewer enterprise fund, we're projecting a large grant this year of 280,000. Interest earnings is up to 8,000. Transfer from fund balance is remaining flat at 850. Sewer service charges are down approximately 2% to 2,453,700, and sewer tap fees are up to 50,000. And then that gives us a total of 3,641,700. All right. Sewer expenditures, salaries are up to 227,500. That is the half of the safety.
So is that like 2.5 positions or
It's 3.5.
3.5?
We have and then half of Chris. So yeah, it's 4.
So 3 and 2 halves?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's up to 227,500. But the 15% is because of the extra half position. Overtime is down to 1,000. OASI is riding salaries at 17,400. Utilities is down to 91,000. Vehicle fuel. Before we had this in a different line, and we're having to do journal entries every time. So we created this line for 15,000. That's our forecast on what it's going to be or has been the last 12 months. But that's why it went from 0 to 15. Other repair and maintenance supplies is up to 70,000. Capital outlay is down to 780,000. And that is based on CCTV of 130,000, our continued manhole lining project for 300,000, and our pump station repair at 350,000.
And what's that going to be?
So that's the, basically remodeling, updating, changing the pumps. It's part of the grant that we're working on for the pump station. So a portion of that is going to be reimbursed from that grant.
So of that 350, there's 280 in grant. But because they're different sides of the table, we have to show both. So it's 80-20 grant? Yep. And that'll have our 44-year-old pump station rebuilt.
Well, for this year.
Right.
There's been more money this year.
Oh, right. And we replaced the force main last year. So. And then operation of the pump station, 217,000, which is down, gives us a total of 1.403900. Sewer treatment and disposal is going up to 1.273 million. That's a combination of more users, more flow, and the Chattanooga's increase as well. All right. Sewer admin is down to 900. Medical insurance is up to 47.9. Retirement is up to 25.4. TML insurance is up to 8,000. Depreciation is up to 318,000. Debt service interest is down to 40,900. Debt service principal is up to 246,000. And then the transfer to general fund stays at 15,000 for a total of 702,100. All right. So sewer enterprise fund overview. The revenues are up to 3.641700. That is projecting the increase that I mentioned before for Chattanooga's pass-through and some inflation adjustment. Expenses are 1.403900 for general sewer, 1.273 for disposal and treatment, administration of 702 for total expenses of 3.379, giving us a surplus of 262,700.
And the sewer is going up, what was the percentage?
12 or 15%. It still keeps us less than WWTA, barely less than Chattanooga. And that's Chattanooga's full price rate, not their discount rate. So Chattanooga does offer a discount to their residents. That would be under us. Their normal cost to serve would be a hair over us. WWTA is a good bit more. So moving on to the airport. So grant revenue staying flat at 261,250. Miscellaneous revenues going up to 500. Hangar rentals staying flat at 209,170. State maintenance reimbursement staying flat at 14,300. Sale of aviation fuel is up 205,000. Sale of jet fuel is up 40,000. And sale of oil is up to 1,500. These are all based on the last year or so. We have several new pilots that are flying a lot more. And Ryan's done a really good job at getting a couple of hangars that were used more for storage to be filled with pilots who fly. So they buy fuel. Airport expenses, salaries are up to 130,400. This was a miss from 93,182. It was just a miss. We took an actual on part-time that we didn't have fully staffed instead of the fully staffed part-time hours. So that's why you see such a big increase.
But are we still looking at closing 2:30 Saturday, 2:30 Sunday
Yes.
with these figures?
With these,
Wow.
So how many full-time and part-time employees is that?
go ahead.
So that would be 4 part-time and then 2 full-time.
Okay.
I would like us to take a hard look at staying open till 5 or 6 o'clock on Saturdays and Sundays, because I think the amount of revenue that it would bring in would offset the cost.
Mhm.
There are a lot of people that don't fly to Collegedale on the weekend as a weekend getaway because the office is closed and there's no way to have a courtesy car. There's no way to go anywhere.
Yeah, we can totally look at that. Again, this was just based on the current numbers, assuming the situation remains the same, but yeah, we could certainly look at that.
We're definitely in a chicken or egg situation where we need to increase sales with staying open longer, but until we increase sales, we can't really afford to pay people to be open longer.
Right.
And so we can work with, call around and try to get some projections together based on some best fit data.
Yeah.
I think there's some other models we could look at. For example, the Sewanee Airport, they have, I don't know, 4 or 5 bicycles on a stand. People can fly, they fly in, they go biking for the afternoon, they bring the bikes back. There's no cost for the bike, but obviously they're buying aviation fuel.
Sure.
So I think there are things that we can do to increase revenue. But when you close at 2:30 on Saturday, 2:30 on Sunday, your 2 prime days, I think you're just, you're hurting yourself.
Yeah.
What time does employees come in on Saturday and Sunday?
8 o'clock.
And
Yes.
we have 1 or 2 people on duty.
There's one each day.
And I would really urge the employees, answer the radio. I mean, I flew this past Saturday and the AWAS was down. Nobody's answering the radio. I have no idea what the winds are doing. So,
Yeah, I can certainly instruct them to do that.
yeah, any progress on getting the AWAS fixed?
So it looks like one of the 2 power units within the tower went out. Don't know if it was related to, they saw that it went out sometime on Saturday. So don't know if that was related to the storm that moved through the night before, or if it just happened to fail. But we did order a new one today, so as soon as it comes in, they'll be installing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Overtime's at 500, long-term disability is rounded down to 200. OASI, riding salaries is at 9,900. Medical insurance is up a hair to 13,900. Retirement is at 5,100. Life insurance is down to 30. Workers' comp is rounded down to 1,900. Unemployment taxes is rounded down to 200. Advertising is down to 5,000. Then utilities are down to 14,500.
What kind of advertising is being done with that line item?
So it's generally our website, and it appeared that it was over budgeted last year, so that was the reason for the, for rounding down this year.
I just didn't know if that included any magazine ads or.
No, it's generally just the website.
Continuing on, telephone is rounded up to 4,500. Repair, maintenance, and buildings is holding flat at 29,200. Office supplies is rounding down to 2,200. Other operating supplies up 3% to 4,500. Vehicle fuel is up to 2,500. Vehicle parts and repairs holding flat at 2,500. Other parts, tools, and repairs is down $400 to 5,000. Deferred maintenance is holding flat at 10,000. Oil for resale is down to 1,000. And then fuel for resale, jet fuel is at 28,000, it's up. Fuel for resale for avgas is holding flat at 152,000. Other items for resale is rounded down to 500. Insurance is up 7% to 3,500. 95.5 grants are holding flat at 275,000, and capital outlay is holding flat at 100,000. I want to, let me go to the next slide then. So that gives revenues of $812,720, expenses of $802,030 for a surplus of $10,690. This does not include depreciation. So if we have a depreciation write-down like we did 5 years ago, 4 years ago, it would show a loss on paper. But we believe it is better to spend that depreciation money on making repairs at the airport and risk a paper loss and remain cash flow positive than to continue to defer maintenance. I just want to caution that that depreciation loss could result in an on-paper loss.
With this being an enterprise fund, can we host events as like fundraisers, like, I don't know, like a New Year's Eve thing at the Commons where the ticket price go towards funds? Are we allowed to do that with enterprise fund?
My understanding we can. And we've started, Ryan's working with Christina to get some interest at the airport, have children out there. We've opened up the additional flight school, et cetera. But we're all ears for any ideas for fundraisers.
I'd love
Anything.
to work with you on
Sure.
brainstorming. I love party planning, and if we can make some money for the airport out of it, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, that'd be
Well,
great.
I love your idea because the furniture in our terminal building, and that's someone's first impression of Collegedale, it's 30-year-old furniture, 30-year-old carpet, 30-year-old paint. I mean, it looks terrible. I mean, if we're gonna do a fundraiser, I'd love to do something, let's go buy some paint, let's get some carpet, some furniture that isn't beat all the heck.
Yeah, I think we can start with some fundraisers and start chipping away at smaller projects. That way you can focus on some larger ones.
Yeah.
That would be outstanding.
Yeah.
You said you don't like the green?
Well, in the 90s, it was great.
So let me ask you this, under the overall city budget, that's our building. Can we not paint it and put carpet in for the airport?
That's part of our maintenance.
I think.
Let me talk to them.
I think we should be able to because it is a city building.
Let us talk to the auditors just to make sure first. We can call it.
If you need us to talk to them, we'll be glad to call them out.
Yeah, you go first.
You know, the appearance is terrible.
Agree.
I mean, it's horrible.
I can see if we were building a building for the airport to a degree, but I think there's got to be.
Let us get a hard answer from the auditors on where the line is drawn between maintenance, expansion, new construction, et cetera. And then we can use that to inform next year's budget.
Something else, and I will say, Ryan, you've done a great job in trying to get derelict airplanes off the field. You've done a great job with that. You're getting people who are buying fuel, and that's what's making this airport the money that a little bit that it's making. I'd like us to explore, because I think we've tapped out. We're getting the most for a hangar that we can get. That's my feeling, but I would like us to explore an idea of charging, let's throw a random figure out of, let's say $100 worth of fuel a month that you have to purchase. And let's say your hangar rent's $450. You're going to be charged $550, but you take that $100 credit if you buy the fuel. And it's going to force more people to fly. So for somebody who says, well, gosh, fuel went up 10 cents, I'm going to park my airplane. It's not doing any of us any good. It's not doing them any good. They're just too cheap to realize that, because maintenance wise, it's going to kill them on the back end.
Right.
You know, I guess it's kind of like what a country club would do. You're being assessed a dining fee, whether you eat there or not. I'm not saying that's the answer, but I think we ought to look at it to see, can we do it? Because if we can, that could really drive up fuel sales in a big way.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll add that to the auditor conversation.
Okay.
And that would include outside lights for like the parking lot and stuff like that. My question too.
Right.
If you've got 75 airplanes on the field and all of a sudden everybody's being billed $100 worth of fuel,
Right.
they're going to start flying.
Hmm.
That's a great
Yeah,
suggestion.
I think that's a good idea.
We'll get an answer from the auditors on it. And if it's appropriate, according to the auditors, then have a conversation on how that will look, how it can get phased in.
Right.
That's
Okay.
everything.
Yeah, I certainly think there are more strategies that we could implement to promote activity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a good idea.
It'd be interesting though, sorry, a little off line here, but other airports that have struggled over the years who are now profitable.
Mhm.
I don't know if we have examples that we can look at and talk to, you know. I know ours goes way back, what has happened to us, but it'd be interesting though, some of those facts, and could we apply some of that?
Sure.
Additional questions, comments? Ready? Drug fund, revenues 2,000, expenses 1,000. it.
On that last slide, I've always been curious and wanted to ask why those numbers never changed, because I looked at Red Banks and it looked like they had realistic numbers plugged in instead of just the placeholders.
It's just the easiest. We pretty much, the revenues are pretty close to normal, but the expenses, there's no way to predict. Most of the time, they don't spend any out of there. So we just put that in there just so we have a line item, hold. And then if they do spend out of there, I just do an amendment.
What goes into that revenue other than half of certain court fines?
If we've gotten like seized funds, that then I don't know the process, but basically they petition the state or whatever it is.
And that's where it gets deposited?
And then we move it from the seized fund account to the drug fund account.
Okay.
Good job. A lot of work.
Yes, it was, and everyone did it amazing. If you notice, most of the departmental budgets are down. PD, once you subtract out the additional grants, they're down as well. Salaries, while we're looking at the COLAs and expansion of retention, due to how we've realigned and eliminated some positions, it's between 2% and 3% overall fund increase, rather than the 5.1 and 1.1 on top of it. And so that's kind of where we are. So I'll start with Commissioner Savage on any questions.
Is the first reading of this next week, or when would that be?
No, it's the second meeting next month.
Second meeting in May.
Yes, the second meeting in May, and then the public hearing will be the first meeting in January.
Is this just questions about the budget, or is this the wrap up? Do you have anything for?
I'd like to go through the budget.
Okay,
before
go ahead.
I shift gears.
That's fine, go ahead.
When will it be printed in the paper?
It will be printed in the paper, whatever. I think it'll have to be within 15 days of the second vote. Whatever the law is, that's what it would be.
I'm sure. I just have been looking and seeing some of the other, a couple of the other cities.
A couple of them have already had their hearing.
Yeah, I was surprised to see them so early.
I am too.
Ours is early this year.
It's-
Earlier.
It cuts off a month or two of action.
I really appreciate you sending all of this out earlier, so we had time to really digest it and go through it, and appreciate that.
Commissioner Baker? Okay. Vice Mayor?
So a couple of years ago, we had an issue with notifying some of the key stakeholders, businesses and stuff.
I made the phone calls
Okay, so that's the
6
check
weeks
mark.
ago.
So my concern is, and I'm going to play average citizen here because it impacts me too. Of course, I'm going to get a property tax increase, probably around $120,000. I mean, $120. Then my sewer tax is going up.
Your sewer fee,
Tax fee, however you want to look at it.
it's a user fee.
It's a government fee. But anyway, that's going up as well. I mean, now I'm paying, so if my water bill is $25, I'm paying right today, probably about $55. So that's going to go up, and Eric, this is not pointed to you, I'm just thinking out loud here.
About 60.
But then it's going to go up again, and my $55 now becomes $60, or whatever it is. So you add that plus the price of eggs, and I'm a big egg eater, so, I'm going through 2 to 3 dozen eggs a week, and where I was paying $2 a dozen for eggs, I'm paying well over $4 now.
Yeah, I'm paying closer to 6.
Yeah, well, I was just being generous, but,
You can tell he doesn't really shop.
no, but anyway, what I'm trying to say is, it's hard on people. I know it's hard on the city, number one. Number two, it's hard on our citizens.
It is.
And I know some people are on a fixed asset budget. Some people have, maybe their spouse is not working anymore because of jobs or whatever. I want to make sure we are as tight as we can be on this. I'm a big supporter of the police department, but this year, I don't know that we can do, in my honest opinion, 6 Durangos. And I just feel like, to me, it's one of those things, could we do 3? And then,
Then by 8 next year.
well, I'm not saying 8, but I know we've got a lot of cars out there sitting. And I know that we have to have extras because we have wrecks and we, maybe not as frequent as we used to, but I understand they don't break down, is what I've been told. And I know they got mileage on them, but I just don't know that I'm for, 6.
Mhm.
But I don't know I can go 8 next year either, so.
And that's the needle we're trying to thread, right? We're trying to amortize out these maintenance items because the cars have a useful life. And in years past, we've one year bought the bare minimum that we had to, and then the next year bought 8 because they were just breaking at that frequency. I will say that there have been several times in the last year that we were down to using our last line vehicle on shift until some repairs could be made during the week to get a couple more up and running. And the 5 in is about where we need to stay to keep them in useful life. Your point of the inflation pressures is very well heard and stated. We have inflation pressures on both sides, right? The citizens have inflation pressures, and then we as the city have to buy tires that go up in price and PVC pipe that's way up, et cetera. Looking back, the last 5 budget cycles, inflation adjusted, the rate, it averages out to $1.61. So we would be under the inflation adjusted average, but that's not the real number, that's the inflation adjusted number. And so our goal with this budget was to stay in the realm of historical inflation adjusted property tax rates, and not ask for more than what we felt like we needed to keep good running equipment and to maintain the level of service, the park system and that sort of thing that we have, to have good running equipment, et cetera. And that was what we're shooting for. We're open for a conversation. My concern is that last year we bought 4, and then if this year we buy 4 or 5, the next year you're not going to be comfortable at buying 8. You know what I mean? I don't want us to compound that problem to a year where I am asking for 8 or 9 or so vehicles because we're having 3 tow shift.
So what's the mileage we get out of a Durango before we retire it?
Honestly, Vice Mayor, I'm not really sure. I think it's somewhere close to 100,000 at least, I believe.
Front line goes between 100 to 150, and then they become line vehicles after that, somewhere in that range, and get a little north of 200, I believe, based on our logs and what we've been getting out of the vehicles.
I mean, Chattanooga still has Crown Vics on the back lot. It just seems like we're retiring vehicles far too soon. How many full-time officers do we have?
In vehicles, it's 26. Yeah, in vehicles, plus our reserve, et cetera.
Do we
We've
have-
worked with the,
Are reserves working shifts regularly enough that they need to be counted in to have
they,
a car every shift?
I mean, they do add mileage to the vehicles, is what I was saying.
Okay.
And we work with the mechanics on making recommendations. We're not, I think we got rid of our last Crown Vic last year,
I think it might have been 2 years ago.
2 years ago. I know I was in this seat when we still had Crown Vics. And so again, the goal is not to preemptively retire anything. It's to keep it functioning well, safely, and dependably, and replace it when it's needed, but not too early.
Does our mechanics
you keep the regular tune-ups and the service and all that,
Mhm.
that they have to have, you know.
If we stay on top of service and that sort of thing.
At some-
You keep up the service, they're gonna last a while.
At some point, oh, I'm sorry. At some point, were we using a third party to do some of the maintenance?
But-
Like a different business to help with like tire changes and stuff?
No, not for tire changes. We partnered with PD and bought a tire changer 5 or 6 years ago.
6 years ago.
Only third-party stuff is usually either item.
Okay, I thought I had seen one of our cars up at the tire place in front of the Snow Hill Publix at one point. Okay,
Not that I'm aware of.
okay. Maybe a little self-initiated maintenance from the officer.
Could have had something happen on the weekend, other than that. I don't know.
Okay.
Right. Outside of that, yeah. But
Well, I know it doesn't come cheap to do it, even as a citizen on a remote car.
Yeah.
I keep it accurate, like the services and stuff up, so that's all. I don't have any major breakdowns and stuff. Of course, that stuff's still gonna happen, but at least I can keep my car for a while.
one thing to keep in mind with police vehicles and the canine vehicles will be even worse is 100,000 miles on a police vehicle is a lot more than 100,000 miles on our personal vehicles.
Right.
The idle times are a lot higher, the run times are a lot higher, and they're called on to do things that we don't do in our normal vehicles in emergency situations. So we need to compare police department to police department, not to our personals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really wasn't doing that. I'm just overall.
Another thing to keep in mind is we've got several that are on standby waiting to be sold, waiting on those.
Yes.
That are being requested.
Yeah, to come in.
Do we have 6 that are going to go out with the proposed 6 new ones? Is there that many?
Sounds right.
Right. So, well, we have the 4 coming this year, and we have
Yes.
that number to roll out, and we'll be moving the Sergeant's Tahoe over to CID to sell the Explorer, and that one will go. And then these 6, our projection is that puts us at our 1 in, 1 out. So they would come in, become frontline, and then we would remove the line vehicle on the backside.
So with those radars that we just approved, I think last week, with the radars that are coming out of the old vehicles, are those going to come into some of the new vehicles? Or what are we doing with the strikers?
I don't know the answer to that, but I can get the answer.
Would it not depend on that, if, when you sell the old car, because we're gonna sell, you know, for surplus and stuff, that would affect the price of the sale, because if the radars are in it, that would be included in the,
We take all that out.
you take all of it out, so that should.
All that comes out. As far as the reinstallation in a new vehicle would be based on our contract with Axon and Stryker, and I don't remember those details off the top of my head. Mayor, do you have any questions?
First of all, thank you for the time that all of you have put into this. I know we as a city are facing cost of living adjustments just like the citizens are. Everybody's struggling at this time. And you've given us a lot to think about. I know this budget is projecting the services that we want to offer. And I know this is hard on everyone, but I know at the same time, we don't want to compromise who we are as a city. We don't want, to go from the 10th safest city in the state of Tennessee to the 100th safest city. We don't want to give up the things that the people in this community enjoy, like 4th of July. So I think you've given us a lot to chew on, a lot to think about. But to your point, Vice Mayor, I know there are a lot of people that are, they're struggling and that they've had increases in everything, just like we have. So thank you for the time that you put into this.
Okay. I'll go through the departments and then back around now that we're off budget if no one has anything else. Ryan?
I have nothing to add.
Andrew?
Nothing to add?
Assistant Chief?
No, sir.
Eric?
Nothing.
Michelle?
No.
Commissioner Commissioner Sadler?
I just wanted to say I saw where it is National Library Week. So everybody can come by and wish them a happy week. And I was going to ask if we have an update on if we have a new librarian yet.
Yes, we do.
We did.
We did.
She was in-house.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, okay. Great.
Mhm.
What's her name?
Gina.
June Wallace.
Gina Mullins. Okay.
I'm so bad with
Cool.
names. So bad. And she's been there a long time.
For a very long time. She's very good.
Yeah.
But yes, they wanted an internal promotion to keep the things that are going well at the library going well. And so they thought an internal promotion would give us some continuity.
Happy to hear that.
Anything else?
Talking about the library, we maybe could have her come over at one of our next workshops
Okay.
and talk about the time that they did not have fees and give us a little have we had that yet? Did they?
Not recently, they came over.
Natalie,
with
in her
it.
presentation, of the
Uh-huh.
results, it wasn't readily apparent to me how the commission felt if we want to go fee-free or not. It is a move in the library industry to go fee-free. It appears that financially it's doable with what we charge for cards.
I think one of the issues was people didn't know about it, and so therefore it was not advertised.
Mhm.
And I think it was, it did not result in the increase in card purchasing, but,
Cards,
out of residents.
cards were up over that window, but we couldn't pin it on. It was the lack of fees or it was happenstance. But I'll ask her to come speak.
Just sort of give us a break, and then everybody will get to know who's our new librarian.
Probably July, if I had to guess, so that we can
Whenever.
wrap up the budget and 4th of July. Commissioner Baker?
I'll pass.
Please, ma'am.
Unless he says something, I'm gonna comment.
I appreciate the police stats that the police chief put out. Those are very good. It gives really kind of a gut feel for what our police officers are doing and our city. And, I think it's a good thing. I know we got it published and I really appreciate that.
Working on the first quarter stats going out this week.
Eric's still working on a paving project for me. So he was out last week and I gave him, a couple citizens made a comment about Little Debbie at Ole Highway, the metal plate on the concrete that had been bent. I guess trucks must have run over it or something, but anyway, they're out there working on it. I had a couple of people say, man, you really got them on that. Well, Eric does what needs to be done, so I appreciate it and thanks a lot. I'm really wanting us to get the airport in line. I'm telling you, it's a struggle. And if we can do some type of fundraising, I think we should do it, maybe have a come out day to the airport again like we used to. And, if we could spruce it up, maybe people would want to come out there and,
Yeah, and I certainly agree. I'm open to all options.
yeah.
Whatever we can do to provide additional funding is open by me.
These people who live on the edge of the airport that has hangars right there, I think we should charge them something.
Charge them a convenience fee for having such a great view.
It is.
They'll get $100 as well.
Do they have an electronic gate to get in and out? Maybe every time that opens and closes, we look at that.
An additional user fee.
Or a departure fee, every
No,
time.
I
I think we'll just put a chain and I'll sell the keys.
There you go.
I will like to say, TDOT stepping up to jump the queue on that ALP is huge for our airport.
Yeah.
It's a 5-year investment, advancement of that. And as far as I understand, I don't know of any airport our size running 3 TDOT grants simultaneously. That's just
Yeah,
against their
absolutely.
rules. They run everything in series. And so, we have the tree cutting is the first one, the safety on the old fuel tank, and now this ALP all in parallel is huge for us.
Yeah.
And this ALP is about a $250,000 gift.
Wow.
This is huge.
Yeah.
And we can't move forward with anything without a current ALP. And how are we gonna afford $250,000? I mean, we can't afford it. This is a gift.
Agreed.
It'll answer a lot of questions on things like instrument approach viability and that sort of thing.
Right. I mean, we can't get an instrument approach without it. There's nothing we can do without it.
This will pay for the survey for it, et cetera. We'll go from 4 pages to
26
yeah,
plus.
20
Yeah.
something plus pages.
Yeah.
So it's a huge deal for us.
So how many airplanes are out there that really are abandoned, who don't fly, that maybe sitting in the tie-down areas? Are there any left out there?
So there's one hangar we're still working with, and we are working with Sam. He used to build airplanes, so he's got this hangar just full of spare parts, half-built airplanes that is taking a considerable amount of time. It is, when I say full, it's completely full from top to bottom, front to back. And he is working as quickly as he can. He has roll-off dumpsters periodically to offload stuff. They're taking stuff to private property. So they're working as quickly as they can. But other than that, we have rectified the derelict situation.
But we don't have,
And he's in his 90s.
Yeah.
we don't have any others sitting out there that's falling apart.
No. Yeah, Ryan, you've done a very good job with that. The airport's cleaned up immensely.
Mhm.
We need to get some more airplanes flying.
I agree.
That's all I have.
One question on Spalding Drive, when is that going to reopen?
So basically, we're waiting on TDOT to do their paving, and that has kind of gotten pushed off due to issues with the railroad approving permits for paving. And that's basically why they haven't gotten to pave that section yet. TDOT was supposed to come in and pave a portion of Addison Pike in front of Public Works and also a couple other areas, but at the last minute, TDOT basically wasn't able to get approval for a permit through the railroad to do that work close to the crossing. And so right now, it's basically off until they get that figured out.
Is there any pressure we can apply to speeding that time? I had a citizen at the end of the last commission meeting asking me about it, saying, what's the holdup?
I can put pressure on TDOT, and that portion may be far enough from the railroad that they feel comfortable enough that they can go ahead and pay it and bring it out for just that little bit of a section. As far as the portion of Addison Pike, they said they've done everything they can do. Basically, it's legal working with the railroad right now.
So the construction that's going on right now, the utility construction, what is that? Is that railroad or is
That's
it?
Chattanooga Gas.
Oh, that's Chattanooga
That
Gas.
is technically a part of the TDOT project because they're relocating their main because of the project, but
Okay.
Chattanooga Gas has their own permit with the railroad.
That was started 8 or 10 years ago. The last time this came up was on the Edgemont light, and it was a 2-year delay, give or take.
The guy that's been sitting at the railroad crossing with the speaker on top of his car, is he a contractor for Wright Brothers?
So I'm not 100% sure because I haven't talked to him, but typically that person is the flagman for the railroad. So he's either a railroad employee or he works for railroads, and they're the ones that basically coordinate to make sure nothing's happening when there's a train coming and making sure everything runs safely. So he's either works for the railroad or he's a third party for the railroad.
Okay.
Where was he in December?
Well, they didn't have a permit for the thing crossing, so there was no one due to have a railroad out there.
Nope, if nothing else, we're adjourned.
Well, get some money for us there, man.